Come deep into the wild forest of video marketing to hear the tips, strategies, and pitfalls of building your brand, reaching more customers, and being chosen above all else in the deep, dark jungle. Welcome to the Video Banshee podcast with your host, Chad Shuttleworth. Welcome to the Video Banshee podcast. My name is Chad. Thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. This is our first full-length episode, and we've got an interview with a gentleman called Phillip Maenpaa. He is a director and cinematographer from America. Here we're going to talk to him. But before that, I wanted to start off on the right foot. I wanted to talk to you guys about what is video marketing. What is video marketing? Why are you listening to this podcast? I don't know. You might be asking that yourself right now, but that's fine. So as defined on HubSpot, video marketing is using video to promote and market your product or service, increase engagement on your digital and social channels, educate your consumers and customers, and reach an audience in a new medium. The reason why video works the way it does in marketing is that it covers all the ways we learn: visually, audio, and kinesthetic. Obviously, visual, you can see the images and you see things, and people who learn that way obviously can see stuff and represent it on screen. People who learn audio, it's there. But kinesthetic, that is hard to quantify when it comes to, it's hard to talk about when it comes to video. But my experience, I'm a kinesthetic learner. The way that I learn with video and the way I receive it kinesthetically is when you watch a scary movie or you're watching a thriller or a drama. For me, I am almost completely immersed in that. And that's how I feel like, when there's going to be a jump scare, I feel it. We all feel that. But for me, I'm so engaged in something that I feel like I'm there. So me feeling like I'm there is actually engaging me a lot more than, say, I was looking at or audio. So video covers all of those aspects. It covers visually, audio, and kinesthetic. And that's why it's so powerful when it comes to marketing, because we have the ability to take something and represent it visually with audio and make people feel a connection to those things. So it's super important that way. Also, for the last 70 years, it's the way that we've communicated since the 1950s. At least in Australia, we've had the news on the channel and showing us pictures. We've had shows, dramas. It has evolved over time, and at least I know from my generation and from boomers onwards, I know that we have received that information, and it's just been there. So now, with it in our pockets, the ability to see things and scroll through a timeline and have video accessed every single day means that video marketing gets to people in the way that they receive things. So, and they're trained. We've been trained to receive video and take the information from that. So that's why it's super effective. And so that moving forward, that's how we're going to look at video and video marketing, is that it's effective because we're so used to it and it's right there and it's accessible, and we can use video to reach people in how they learn and how they receive information. It's super important. It's super exciting. So that's video marketing. We've got an interview with Phillip Maenpaa in a second, but I wanted to define a few things before we get in there to give you some context with some of the things we talk about. But my thought for the day today, I love thought of the day calendars, and this is a thought of the day that I'd like to, I'll pass on to you guys so you can think about it. A video without a storyboard is like a house without a foundation. Now, storyboards is a visual representation of either the producer, the director of photography, which is the person holding the camera, or whoever's in charge of a project, or it can be the whole creative team. It's a visual representation so that everyone's on the same page. And how it breaks down is the storyboard is exactly that. It's a story that's represented in pictures and words on a board, and it allows you to show every single edit that you will achieve on the day. So it means that it talks to the makeup department, the construction department, where the cameras are going to sit, what to look for when it comes to B-roll, which I'll get into in a second. But it's literally segmented up into pictures and words. It can be as simple as stick figures in the square and describing what's happening, or it can be really, really complex drawings, or it can be images off the internet that are kind of like, I want them to look like this and blah, blah, blah. But it's a communication device and a pre-production device that allows people to be on the same page when it comes to creating videos. So that's a storyboard. We talk about that in the interview with Phillip, but also B-roll. Now, B-roll, as defined on Wikipedia, in film and television, B-roll is a supplement or alternative footage intercut with the main shot. So in strictly terms that I can understand, basically that means that it is beautiful shots or something that tells the story that isn't part of the main shot. So I want you to imagine in your head, just think about it right now. Don't close your eyes if you're driving, but I want you to think in your head, someone being interviewed, and it's sort of a medium shot. So they're looking across to an interviewer. They're talking about something, and say they're describing an event, maybe a fun run. They're describing a fun run. As they're talking, the editor will edit in bits and pieces of someone running, of people's numbers, people mulling together, people drinking water. They will intercut that to represent what's going on. And what that actually does is it, one, pushes the story forward, two, it's something beautiful to look at, and three, it kind of glues what that person's saying together with visual imagery. So B-roll is super important when it comes to visually representing what someone's saying. So we talk about storyboarding and B-roll in the interview today. So we have Phillip Maenpaa in today. We're going to be talking to him. He is a cinematographer from America who moved to Australia in 2015. He's worked in video production since 2012. He's seen a lot of changes, a lot of things. So I bring that up to him in the interview. He's worked with wedding videos, corporate video, media coverage, short film, and webisode series. He's currently running a boutique production company where he looks to help people tell their stories, inspire others, and make a difference. And our interview today is all about that process. So let's get to that interview right now with Phillip Maenpaa. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, Phil.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Mate, so you're from America. Whereabouts in America are you from?
Yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin. Yeah, if you know where that is, the 70s show. Yep. And spent most of my life there, and then moved to St. Louis for the last 4 years before I moved here.
And then you moved here in 2015.
2015, correct.
And the move was because...
Yeah, originally a combination of a few things. My sister has been living over here since 2010, and she's been a professional athlete most of her life and had an opportunity to start a sports performance company. And that, along with some other things, kind of led me to Australia. So I was coming over here to help her start her business, and then have an opportunity to do something radically different and move to a new country.
Awesome, man. And so a question I want to ask everyone on the podcast is, what do you tell people that you do? What is the description that you give them when you say, "Hey, I'm Phillip, I do this"? What do you say to them?
Oh man, that changes on a regular basis, my friend.
Today, what do you tell people when you walk out of the room today?
I mean, it depends if I add a little humor to it, but more or less, if I'm talking to a corporate or in a business networking environment, I usually go with the fact that I'm a storyteller. I tell people story. I help people save time and help people save money.
Nice.
Using the power of video.
Nice. And when you talk to you meet someone and they're like, you both like order the same coffee at a coffee shop, what do you say to that person? They're like, "Oh, so what do you do?"
Yeah, I pretty much tell people I shoot people for a living. Well, being American, they look at me like, "What are you?"
Yeah, absolutely.
A little humor, but no, I tell people that I create films in one form or the other, from weddings, corporates, short films, just to fun things for Instagram.
And so you've been in the industry since 2012. What have you seen evolved from? Obviously, people have iPhones and stuff. What have you seen change over the time in the way of video marketing?
Yeah, it's changed greatly with, just the bar to entry to get into any sort of video production. That alone has changed since the early, 2010, 2012. It's so easy. Like, iPhones today are capable of shooting some really great 4K stuff. You have drones, you have cheap cameras, DSLRs, your cinematography cameras are not that much more expensive if you're willing to make that investment. And so you're able to buy the right equipment or use good equipment to make some really great stuff. And then you pair that in with social media and how social media has changed in the last couple of years. I think those two has created that storm of an influx of video marketers, video creators, just people that want to create something.
And it's interesting that, I'm inspired on a day-to-day basis, just looking at Facebook, social media, all that sort of stuff. I'm super inspired when I see other people who aren't professionals doing an amazing and stand-up job. So the industry is completely saturated with video. What do you do with your client? You sit down with a client. Say you take a client and they are doing something. You sit down with them. How do you go from the moment of conception to sending it out into the social media marketplace?
Yeah, that's it can be a tricky thing sometimes with the client you're working with. It depends on their experience already with video production, video marketing, as well as what their goals and intentions are. If they're brand new to all of this, you kind of have to start very small, very basic, get some of their fundamentals the core stuff that they need to have, and build off that. And if they already have something, you can kind of have a little more fun with it and say, okay, well, let's, push your boundaries, push your creativity. Let's really get out there and make an impact. And so once you kind of identify where they are in the spectrum of things, you can start to figure out what the actual brief, what the actual concept, and what you actually want to produce looks like.
And with that, with the experience comes knowledge. It comes the storytelling. Obviously, you've told thousands of stories before, and it's finding that unique story inside someone's business. So say let's go a medium business, right? So say the business has had people come in before, they liked what they had done before, but they want to take it in a completely new direction. What do you do when you sit down? Do you start with an idea, or do you show them, do you produce something beforehand and then present that to them? Or how do you sit down with a client that's come to you and said, hey, Phillip, I want this, this, and this. I know I want this done. How do you approach that situation?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Usually how I'd approach that situation would be, more or less, if they already have a concept that they want to do, then we kind of reverse engineer it. We work backwards and say, well, what does it look like to produce that? And then once you produce it, what are you going to do with it to market it or use it in your platforms? And once we kind of identify those two things, the rest is pretty simple. I've come from the experience of, I've been doing this for a while. I've worked with no budgets. We've done the hustle route. We've done stuff for dirt cheap to get started and all that stuff. And I've been through that gamut, so I know what it takes to produce videos now, high quality videos to the budget. You can hack a video and get some stuff done really well for pretty cheap. It's a bit frustrating sometimes, but you can do it. But with also a little production and a little pre-production process, you can actually get some really great stuff done at an affordable price.
How important to you when you are coming to a client and saying, hey, we're going to produce this, how important is that pre-production time for you?
Man, that's a savior. If you don't put in the time before you go into shoot, you're going to spend a lot more time in post-production spinning your wheels, trying to figure out what to do with all that footage. And I found the times that you can get some really great stuff out of that if you just kind of go shoot and see what happens. You can get some really great stuff out of it. But in my experience, I found that the more you actually put together a concept, an idea, maybe a storyboard, a shot list, you'll be able to put that quicker together in post. And
so talking about shot lists and storyboarding, do you find that a large amount of people actually want to see what it's going to look like for, say, with a storyboard, or are they sometimes entrust you to do it? What's your experience with clients? How prevalent is storyboarding and shot listing in the actual industry?
I think it depends again on the education of your client. Some of them are creative. Some of them are like to be hands-on, so they want to see that all the way through, and they want to know the schedules, the agendas, all that stuff. And some of them you're the professional. We're going to trust that you're going to get the job done. And, here are some concepts that we might have, a video that we really like, or bits and pieces that we really like. And then it's on me as the creator to, duplicate that into their own story.
Yeah. When you do a concept to people, do they generally have someone they're aiming for? Like for our clients, I know that when we talk to them, I first sit down and say, hey, who are the people you're actually targeting? And I try to nut out the target market that they're going for, and then kind of aim for that. Is that something that you're used to doing? Like, do you sit down and actually get the target market before you plan anything? Or how does your process work when it comes to conceptualizing something?
Yeah, when I first got in the industry, I kind of shot and threw it out there and said, hey, we made a great video. Let's see where it goes. And through experience, and especially dealing with the corporate market, you really have to be strategic on how you present things. Everyone has content. I mean, we consume content so quickly, so fast. I watch people scroll through Instagram or Facebook, and it's a blur. So to get people to actually stop and look at something is a challenge nowadays. So I think to answer your question, I think it's one of those things where if you know your target market, you're able to create something specifically to catch their attention and to make them stop and say, hey, I want to check this out.
In your experience with obviously the target market, what do people present to you to say, hey, make something for these guys? So do they bring you a bunch of sheets of data and this, or how do you for yourself best receive data so that you can make that concept around?
To be honest, a lot of curiosity.
Right.
I ask a lot of questions, and I pretty much dive in and try to understand who their current clients are and where they actually want to go with their business. Because if they're looking to grow their marketplace, that's outside their current client market. So you're going to have to find new ways of attracting different people in for them to become clients. If you're marketing to their existing clients, they already have all that data. So it's just a matter of fine tuning and polishing some of those things to make them go, wow.
When a client comes to you, what's the general reason they come to you? Are they looking to generate more clients, or are they looking to entice their base?
I actually get a good mix. So I have a lot of people that like to tell their story, or they have a need that they're like, hey, I'm a new company or I'm an existing company, but I don't have a good, what are we about? So I have a good base of people looking to, kind of give that information. And then I have a good base of people who are looking to, hey, I need to grow my marketplace. I want to get more clients. I want to get more leads. And both of those, I have a good mix between the two of them, to be honest. So both of them are a little bit different, and both of them have a bit different way of going about video production.
So we'll switch gears. I want to talk to you about exactly what you just said then. But I want to know about you personally. What is your go-to video style? What do you love creating? Because for me personally, I love creating just fast, heavy action edits that grab your attention, that are the 30 seconds, as you said, 30 seconds. In the first 5 seconds, I'm going to grab their attention, bam, 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 and then the end. What is your go-to style?
Yeah, it's evolved over the course of the years that I've been doing this. When I first started, it was the highlight reels, editing to music and to beats and really, fast paced stuff. And it's evolved through the years to now more of that storytelling, short film style, if you will, of, capturing messages and essence and what people are actually about, and bring out their authenticity of why they're in business and what they do, why they do what they do. So that's, I think, probably my go-to style of filmmaking is that short film documentary style. But I really, that leaves the door open to a lot of things, because you can still have that fun, fast-paced edits in certain sections for B-roll and whatever else. But if I had to say that was my style, that would be what it is.
How good is B-roll though? Let's be honest.
Oh man,
I love it so very much.
Man, I could spend hours just editing. I have hours and hours of B-roll that I could just be like, hey,
do you have like a folder on your like desktop? You're like, oh, I'm gonna go and just like edit some stuff together and
a
put
folder.
it out. Yeah.
Come on, let's be real. We both have hard drives full of B-roll stuff. Actually,
this is a sad fact. I have 8 hard drives sitting in the office just in here of just like photos that don't. I have a 1-year-old and a beautiful wife, and I have more photos of the scenery and more photos of more B-roll taken up than the photos of my child, who is also quite cute. So when it comes to B-roll, when you're shooting for a client, do you plan your B-roll, or do you sort of get inspired on the day, or how do you approach B-roll?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. There's definitely B-roll you need to fill in the gaps of your story. And it depends on how much pre-production or story you already know going into your shoot. So if I know a lot of the story, I can kind of say, hey, here are some of the key vibes that I want to bring out with B-roll. And if we don't have that, then I kind of have to be, in your environment. It's okay, well, they said this, let's capture some of this, and this, or they said this, it sparked this idea. Or if you're in, a outdoor location, you might see some really great stuff. You're like, hey, let's grab these little bits just to have. If you're in the office setting, it's, let's do whatever the office looks like. They might have a fish tank. They might have a great coffee machine. Who knows? Like, you just kind of make what works in your environment.
And I know you answered it at the start, but like as a filmmaker, you approach video and you create these things. What gives you pleasure out of making these, like making film? What's the thing that you get the pleasure out of?
I think for me, it's 2 things. It's one, being creative, like having an idea inside my head that I can actually put out that people can be like, wow, I actually get an idea what's going on inside your head. That's actually how I kind of found myself into video production in the first place, is it was an outlet for me to create. And then the other aspect is probably meeting or exceeding what the client or the person you're working with has for their expectations. Those 2 things, I always strive to deliver more than what they expect, just because I like that wow factor of what video can do. And video can be emotional, it can be happy, it can create, sadness, it can make people angry. I mean, video can do so much. And that's, I think, what I love most about that experience, is creating something that invokes emotion and inspires people to do things.
And in saying that same thing, when you put something out into the world, do you, after you've seen the client release something, do you go through the comments and go like, oh, look, oh man, that person liked it. Oh, wow, they picked that up. That was sick. Oh, this person did. Do you run through and have a look at the response?
Yeah, I do every once in a while, and some of the big pieces that I really like, and probably for that first couple of days when it's fresh, and then it dips off your radar because, in our world,
next project or something. Yeah,
we're so busy most of the time, and if we're not busy, we have heaps of editing to do. I'm guessing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's only so much you can go down that rabbit hole. But it's always great to see what people say, and I really do love seeing people's feedback and how something that you as an artist, we're all artists, and it's great to see how your art's appreciated.
Absolutely. Obviously, we have had video and film specifically has been around since like sort of the early 1800s, or late 1800s, early 1900s, all the way through to like, it's now come away from the film. It's now come away from the TV. It's now in our devices, in our pockets every single day. There is a monotony and just expansive nature. Everything can become monotonous. How do you create video to stand out? What do you focus on when you sit down for an edit? What is the thing that you focus on that you know is going to capture people's attention?
Yeah, to be honest, I think for most videos, it's, in this day and age, it's that hook. It's that first couple of seconds, couple of minutes. And I think that's where I focus a lot of my energy on, is getting that first little attention grabber. Or like, if you think of any good movie, that first opening couple scenes sets up the whole entire film.
Absolutely.
And so I think for me, that's kind of what I try to focus on most. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where I think when you look at the whole edit, it's finding all the different pieces and really honing in on what makes that story stand out. It could be anything. Like you and I could go out for a cup of coffee, and that journey to our getting a cup of coffee could be a great story.
Absolutely. We could pass someone on the street, and then we have a chat with them and go all that story towards that place. And then we sit down, and then finale, done. It could be that journey. Yeah. I see what you mean. For me, I love action movies, but realistically, I like visual, like just recently Joker was released. I had purchased a cinema camera that I got a Blackmagic Pocket 6K.
Nice.
The cool one of my. So I bought this cinema grade camera, going, I'm going to make films, and so I went and saw the most epically colored, most anticipated film of the year, which I'm going to say was one of the best films I've seen in my life. Joker. If it's not a DC movie or anything. Like, it is DC movie, but it's not a comic movie. I haven't seen it. Go and see it. It is amazing with colors, just the way it's put together. That inspires me. What inspires you to create every single day?
That's a great question. Some days are better than others, my friend. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle. But I think for me, I pull from so many different things. I have this weird gift of hearing music and seeing video. So, point in case, Grace's song, You Don't Own Me. When that came out in 2015, I was driving my car, listening to that song on the radio, and all of a sudden I had an entire music video laid out in my head that I actually looked and researched, and the music video that she has produced really well and looks really great. But the idea that I had, that storytelling idea of that journey of a woman coming into her own, wasn't shown. And I'm like, I wish I could reach out to her and be like, hey, I need to produce your music video or give you this idea. But that's the thing with music that I find that's so great, is I can hear different bits and pieces of music and start seeing, B-roll or videos or a story behind that. So that's one aspect of how I create. And the other aspect too is I think just you get certain ideas in your head and you just got to find a way to release it. So it's just like, hey, I have this idea. How can I get this idea out of my head and onto something that people can see? Isn't
it funny that you also sometimes find a client that you try to sandwich your idea into that when the next person comes along, you're like, oh man, I got this real cool idea with a big cheese ball and this, and you're like, okay, so I got a dentist. How am I going to do? I want to do this thing. And do you find? For me, I find that. So I understand fully how you have it encapsulated in your head. Sometimes I look at just a thing that's happening in real life and go, how can I put music to this? Because my background is also music. So I look and I go, oh man, that's a dad and a daughter walking together, little hands, and I'm in my brain, I'm starting to shoot it, hands and feet.
100%.
Yeah. So obviously the life inspires you as well. When you are approaching a project, you're trying to capture people. So how much of realism do you put in, and how much creativity do you put in to your projects?
That's a great question. I guess it really depends on the client and the project. Some people are a bit uncomfortable with lots of creativity.
Yes, because they're paying lots of money.
Yeah. And some people, want that, and they want you to push the edge and do something really cool and radical. Those are the clients that personally, from a creative standpoint, I love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of it too for clients, if there's a message I could give clients, is if they did their research, did their homework, and, understood the person that they're hiring, then trusting them to create something is what they should do.
And actually, you're not just a person behind the camera; you're a creative as well. So that's what you're saying, yeah.
And I watched a TED Talk by Casey Neistat once. He told a story of how Nike hired him and paid him thousands of dollars to create 2 videos for them back in probably the late 2000s, I think. I can't remember the exact dates, but he basically created one great video. They loved it. He had $20,000 or $30,000 left. He's like, what do I do with this? How do I top that? And he went traveling for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But he created one of the most viewed Nike ads ever.
Yes. Yeah, I think I know that. I remember that campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. But the point is they trusted him to say, hey, look, we know your style. Yep. We're not going to try to dictate or put our 2 cents in. We want you to create something for us based off knowing that you're a creator and you have that, you're going to do the due diligence and do something really cool, and you're going to find a way to do it. We'll just let you do your process.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think if I had a message to people, that's probably one of the things is, as long as you do your due diligence and you like someone that you're hiring, let them kind of create, let them be an artist, let them do what they want to do. And if you don't trust them, don't hire them.
Well, that's true. The other thing is that it's an educated risk when you do that sort of thing. What you're doing is you're handing over the reins to your brand, to this creative, but you wouldn't have found them or hired them if you didn't think they were worth their grain of salt. So, I think that's awesome. That's one thing I definitely think everyone should buy. And I will link those Nike ads in the show note description so everyone can have a look. Go ahead and click those. So moving into...
And just comment, Casey and I should follow both of us, right?
Yeah.
No, just kidding. All right, cool.
When with 2020 now, like with 2020 vision, right? So you've seen the trends that have happened in the last few years, like, there's ads from like Dove that they do. They just take this money and they go away and they make a mini documentary about mum and daughter, and about how they affect each other. And then we see, I know very much in Australia, we see a lot of ads about, when there's drink driving or being tired and stuff, that really almost scary. And because it's so real, those ads that come up on Facebook and before our YouTube stuff, as you see that happening, what do you feel there's going to be a massive trend in 2020 from your experience? What are clients looking for? What are they pointing you towards to say, we want to be like that? Do you have any examples of those?
Yeah, I think it's one of, as consumers, what we're going to start dictating. And I think, from clients and creators and being in business, we kind of follow the consumer trends. And, there's a pattern to our trends. And, we see something for a while, we love it, we consume it, we overconsume it, and then we're looking for that next development or the next flow into something else. That's why Netflix has resurged with their Netflix originals, and so many A-list actors are, they have their own series or their own movie that's a Netflix original, because that's where consumerism has pushed. So I think from the storytelling aspect and the video aspect, I think I see a lot of authenticity coming out that people are looking for. They want people to be real. They want people to, be inhibited. It's so easy to live stream. It's so easy to do, Snapchat stories, Instagram stories, Facebook stories. So I think there's a big portion of that people want to see. And then I think we're tired of being sold to be honest. Like everyone's just tired of being sold to. So I think it's just telling those stories of putting people in a situation where they can identify and be like, I can relate to that. And I think that's where I start seeing a lot of things generate. I'm working with one client now in the solar industry where, their biggest focus is climate change and how to create clean energy and how that affects you and your family or your business. And it's just basically that, telling that story of identifying how you and I could sit here and be like, cool, this is why I need solar panels in my house.
Yeah, absolutely. And that shared experience as well, that's a big thing, is that a video that's not only educational, they call it edutainment. So education and entertainment, but it's also shareable, that you want to, like, you don't laugh to yourself and then go, I'm never going to be able to share that. It's that kind of, I want my friend to figure this out. So making content that's kind of shareable is a big trend, I believe, that's happening this year.
Yeah, actually, I can give you another point while you're thinking about that. One of the videos that I saw last year that really hit me hard from the storytelling aspect of a video ad was for one of the spirit companies. And unfortunately, spirit companies produce a lot of great ads that are just storytelling. They don't really sell their spirits. They tell a story. And it was about two brothers, walking in the cabin and sharing, a drink and whatever else. But the catch was the brother actually was dead, and it was him reliving the memory. And I'll send you the clip.
Yeah, please. That sounds insane. No one could see my face, but I just opened my mouth. Yes.
Yeah.
Can we say what the company is?
I can't remember offhand.
That's fine. It'll be in the show notes, and you'll be able to read it.
Yeah.
We'll correct this stuff. Sorry, keep going. But
that was the thing though, is how they told that story as you're watching it. I think they only showed the product like once or twice, so you knew it was them sharing an experience, a drink together, or food or whatever.
Wow.
But it was that power of that. Wow, you could feel the loss, the sadness, the whatever, and you're like, and it's not that they're going to sell any more drinks or bottles of that, but it's one of those things that we're talking about it now. We remembered it. It spoke to us, and I'm
sure it got shared like crazy when it was released on social media and YouTube and stuff like that, because that is an emotional connection. That's what you're talking about. Storytelling is that visceral feeling of like, oh my God, because I that's what I just felt then as you described it. I didn't even see the video. You described 2 sentences, blah blah blah, and then the twist is at the end. He's been reliving a memory because his brother's dead. That's insane. That's insane. And the fact that you're able to tell me, and I got, wow, that is a power of video. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I'm actually dumbfounded. That's insane. And my
show's over. I left you speechless.
Yeah. Bye guys. See ya. my drop. I won't drop this mic. It's expensive. So
yeah, please don't.
Let's wrap up. I want you to obviously, let's restate the things that you've said. Video marketing, it has to be powerful and connecting. It also, the first 5 seconds, first moments of your video are the most important to catch people in. And if the story is shareable, it's worth releasing, I guess, would be the summary of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You did very well. Your American accent's pretty poor though, but
sorry. Next time I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try an accent. There's no way.
Yeah, I think that's definitely key. And then, there's the other aspect of building your content. And, that might not be as flashy and engaging, but it's definitely important because you're giving more of what you do or what your company does, or more information that people can consume. And so like that, that might look a bit different. So there's, yes, the flashy ads or the, attention grabber stuff is important, but that's only a small makeup of what people should be looking at if they're looking at producing and staying in the video marketing game. The other aspect is that content development pieces that really fill in the gaps. And I mean, if you were to tell me what you did for a living and all the people that you can help with your company, it would be quite a bit more than one video. And all the different pieces and how to you'd probably have a video on how to, get people ready to shoot a video or what they should think and all that stuff. So if companies think of things like that, where they, yes, you need that flashy stuff to get people in the door, but you also need that content development stuff to give them the information they're looking for. I think that combination works really well for a lot of businesses and a lot of companies. And
the other two things I remember you saying is integrity. Now, integrity doesn't mean specifically show everything, because we're going to have some sort of perception, but the integrity is be honest, be authentic. That's right. Authentic doesn't mean swear, show every naked skin piece you can. That doesn't. Authenticity means what is really your company about? What do you stand for? What do you do? That sort of stuff. And I just, that's what I forgot from before, is that your authenticity should come across of the things you stand for and what you guys believe. And the last thing you said was trust your creative.
Yeah, definitely.
That creative team, that relationship is a big thing, yeah?
Yeah, it is. And it's one that, obviously the more you create and the more you develop with them, the more it grows. It's just like any relationship. It takes time to build. And yes, you might be able to get some great pieces from the get-go, but I think it's having that trust Because, video production isn't cheap. Let's be honest. Like it costs money to produce really great stuff. I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl ads, it's 30 seconds and they're spending millions of dollars on a 30-second ad. So, there are ways to hack video production, but, if you want to do some really great pieces, do your research, invest in those really great pieces, and then know where you can kind of supplement the other stuff to fill in the gaps. And I think, the authenticity is definitely key. And I think people need to remember that. And, being in the world that we live in, there's that idea of there's no new thought out there, no new creation out there. And so, yes, it's great to have, maybe another company or another, influencer or whatever that you're like, hey, I really like their style. But I think that authenticity is also developing your own style. You might be able to use that for inspiration, but take that and make it your own. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, because I have a lot of clients say, hey, I like this video. Can we just reproduce that? I'm like, well, we can, but that's not being you. That's, yes, it's a great video, but you're not going to actually say the same things. You're not going to act the same way. So let's just use that style, but make it your own.
Awesome, man. Well, obviously you got places to plug. Can you want to plug your website and your business?
Yeah. So my business is actually I'm a boutique business right now. And so I do a lot of video consulting. I work with other professionals in the industry, as well as a lot of clients in short film documentaries. So pretty much if you Google my name, Phillip Maenpaa, that comes up with everything that you can find me attached to.
Awesome. And Instagram? Same
thing, Phillip Maenpaa.
Sweet, man. All right.
Everything's under Phillip Maenpaa.
Oh, dude, that is the best
simple
tagging ever. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And I know that everyone will appreciate you being on here. So thank you much. And we'll get you back on the podcast very soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Wasn't that a great interview? I want to thank Phillip for joining us on the show. It's always great to talk to someone else who is in the same industry, who's creative, who inspires you. And Phillip will be joining us back on the podcast very, very soon. But I wanted to just quickly touch and put a button on the end of all of these of the concepts that we talked about today. We talked about story reporting and how you communicate with the rest of the people who are creating the video, editor and stuff. So it's important to represent what you want to see happen from the end product. Trust your creative. If you work with them to develop your concept and put trust in them, you can create something beautiful. And I employ people, trust your creative. If you're not creative and you're trying to get a video put together and you hire someone, obviously within reason, make sure that you allow them a space to create for you. Obviously, I'm a creative. I need to be reined in occasionally because I will create a visually stunning, beautifully lit piece of cheese that won't represent anything. And I have to be told sometimes, yeah, maybe not. Also, show, don't tell. Make sure that you're showing things you don't tell people. A voiceover is good, but if you can show it visually, it saves time and it also connects way, way better with your audience. Be authentic. Show what you stand for people. And you'll actually find more of engagement. You can actually create a conversation, which is, a great way to market with people, because you're not just marketing to them. You're creating their life better because you're an open company. You're able to show people that what you say is what you guys do, and what they see on a video is what you are. So authenticity is extremely important. So keep that in the back of your mind. And lastly, be educational, be entertaining, and be shareable. Too often people stand in front of and this is from my perspective, too often I see people sitting in front of a camera, which is good, which is really, really, it is good if that's how you're starting. But if you sit in front of a camera and expect people to stick around if it's not engaging or you haven't got something flashing up or whatever, you're asking a lot of your audience. So definitely think about, how can I make this more shareable? How can I make this entertaining? And how can I make this educational for my customers? So that's it for the show. Man, thank you so much. We got to the end. Listen, we got to the end. Guys, in the room, anyone? Again, there's no one in this room. I want to thank you guys for joining us. If you want any more resources, we're creating more resources as we go. So if you want to email me at videobanshee@nimbler.com.au, or you can DM us on Twitter at Video Banshee, or on Instagram at Video Banshee. We're going to be posting a bunch of things that are to do with the interviews and to do with everything resources and video marketing specifically. If you hit subscribe on the podcast, you'll have access to us every time we release an episode. And look, get in contact with us. Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear about, and who we should interview. And we will reach out to those people and get them on the podcast. This is about growing together and that journey towards getting better at our video marketing for our business. So join me next time. Let's create engaging, captivating video together, and watch out for those wildcats out there. Bye for now. This podcast is brought to you by Nimbler Digital. For more information and the show notes, head over to podcast.nimbler.com.au. That's podcast.nimbler.com.au and click on this week's episode.